construction bots. Unlocking personal robot slave friends is the greatest power spike in early game Factorio, and we are making ourselves some personal roboports so we can deploy them at will for our remote building operations. It's too bad bots take so much power to build stuff, but if we responsibly reserve enough space in our personal armor for solar power generation and battery storage, we should, with some patience, be able to deploy a couple handfuls of bots reliably without our batteries constantly dying. Wait, we are making 150 bots? Why so many? Alright, so in this specific playthrough we are playing with a slightly increased science multiplier, which basically means the power armor technology is much harder to access than usual, but rare quality materials are easier to come by compared to our tech level. All this means is I have a rare modular armor equipped instead of a common power armor, but they are functionally the same with a similar equipment grid size. Anyway, so most of those 150 construction bots must be for a ground-based roboport network or something, as there is simply no way to command that many bots from your early game armor. Even powering just 30 bots from 3 personal roboports is at risk of draining your entire battery and having to manually pluck your bots out of the air. Which is actually the commonly known strategy to skip those bots' charging cycle and recharge their internal battery for free. It is pretty hard to keep all bots from sneakily sapping power from your armor this way though, and it's a pretty slow and micro-intensive strategy. Not as slow as waiting for all of the remaining bots to charge up from your crappy personal solar panels though. There is also the lesser known method of taking an imperial crap ton of bots and then momentarily taking off your armor to delete the player's personal roboport network, causing the bots to redirect to the nearest landlocked roboport network. This works pretty well too, but comes with a different set of drawbacks. First of all, you need to have a reliably charged landlocked roboport network already present on the planet with plenty of storage space, or the bots will just freeze and hang there in the air. Bots will return the moment you take off the armor, taking any construction material which they hadn't placed yet back to the base. In a straight line, so you better make sure they don't pass over enemy territory or they will get sniped. On an unrelated side note, worms truly hate construction bots, but logistic bots and worms are best friends forever. Anyway, you can also carry way less building materials, as you need to reserve space to carry several sets of construction bots, and you need to keep the extra inventory space that your personal armor provides empty, or you simply won't be able to take it off. Alright. So let's move on to the new way to exploit bots without paying them and have them construct giant builds without sapping a single joule of energy. Let's go back to storytelling Mike, who is still woefully uninformed about the madness that is about to ensue. Anyway, those 150 construction bots we just made cannot possibly be all for deployment from the personal armor, and even ignoring power generation and storage, a rare modular armor fits at most 9 roboports. Not that anyone would ever contemplate putting 9 roboports in a simple modular armor. Wait, why is he making 9 personal roboports for his simple modular armor? Well, rare personal roboports can house not 10 but 16 bots each, so with 9 roboports we are able to command 144 bots. Furthermore, unlike with the landlocked roboports, personal roboports increase both the rate of charging and the number of bots that can charge simultaneously, making the rare Mark I personal roboport more powerful than its common Mark II counterpart, hidden behind Fulgora. But yes, 9 roboports leaves a stupidly small looking amount of space for batteries and solar panels, I'll give you that. But here's a little secret. We don't need no stinking batteries. The 9 roboports are the batteries. They can store 35 megajoules each, making them almost as space efficient as common quality personal batteries. Unfortunately, the internal battery capacity of personal roboports doesn't scale with quality, but these 9 personal roboports still store as much power as 10 rare personal batteries combined. So, until we unlock exoskeletons hidden behind processing units, all we need to power is our roboports, which have their battery storage built in. Nice! But still, a mere 15 rare solar panels to recharge tasks involving 150 construction bots is woefully underpowered. Is what you would think, were it not for a totally reasonable construction bot feature that got scaled up to be totally exploitable in Factorio Space Age. As a bot flies out to complete its task, it spends a fixed and significant amount of power per meter flown, coming out of the bot's own inbuilt battery. When the bot eventually returns to the player, it recharges up the spent power from the personal roboports, which then ultimately have to be recharged from personal batteries and/or personal solar panels. So far so good. But there's always a but, isn't there? Anyway, here comes the cheese. If a bot spends 100% of its internal battery, it recharges the full amount of power spent, the full 100%. If a bot spends anywhere between 5 and 99% of its internal battery, it recharges the full amount of power spent, the full 5 to 99%. But if a bot spends less than 5% of its internal battery, it recharges 0% of the power spent. That's right. It completely skips the recharge step and instead instantly and magically restores its power bank back to 100% full, without draining power from the armor. Now, this was never really a problem in the olden days, as bots used to spend 5% of their battery bank when flying distances as short as in just moving items from one side of a roboport to another. And indeed, common logistic bots have not been changed and still behave exactly the same way as back then. And they do recharge even after such a short flight. Construction bots though have gotten their internal battery capacity doubled in Space Age. Now, this by itself would still not be very exploitable just yet. But here comes quality to ruin everything again. Each level of quality increases the construction bot's internal battery. And no, not by the standard 30%, but by a whopping 100% per level, which then multiplies with the doubled base capacity. That means a rare construction bot now has an internal battery a whopping 6 times larger than in the olden days. Meaning it can just about fly out a reasonable distance, perform a task, and fly back to the armor without spending more than 5% of its 9 megajoule internal battery, thus skipping the recharge and having performed its task energy-free. You might think that's not a big deal, but when you multiply that effect by 144 times because you control 144 bots from 9 rare personal roboports from your lowly modular armor, well... Well, Perpetuum mobile in Factorio confirmed. And suddenly we can get all sorts of tasks done without spending a single joule of energy from our personal armor. And we are not even done yet. Thanks to another minor tweak in Factorio Space Age, we now have very fine control over each individual bot's allowed flight distance. If you switched off your personal roboport in Factorio 1.1, any construction bot tasked with something would first complete their current task before returning to your armor. But in Space Age, the bots interrupt their current task and return to the armor immediately. With a bit of practice, you can get the timing down quite nicely, and that means we can responsibly build way larger projects straight from our personal armor than our solar-powered armor has any right to be able to power. Even on Fulgora, where the sun shines 80% less bright. Especially on Fulgora, where we have meanwhile upgraded to a power armor with some exoskeletons, we can now build large blueprints like this quality module maker without the personal roboports sapping the energy out of the personal batteries that are the sole power source for our exoskeletons. Which means we can keep moving at the enhanced speed. Quite nice when you have to traverse the heavy oil oceans later. Now, there's a couple techniques you can deploy to make this strategy more efficient than just standing in the middle and switching off your personal roboports every few seconds. With the sweep building technique, you can make all bots fly out to adjacent destinations. Simply stand just outside roboport range of the blueprint, then firmly walk in, letting each bot place the one item it's carrying, before ordering them to return to your armor. Rinse and resweep. Just make sure your roboport area is not too large for this one, or you'll need to stand so far away that the bots will exceed their free flight distance, triggering them to recharge. I find a 9 roboport construction area to be the maximum for reliably energy-free rare bots. Or try this variant of the sweep building technique, where you stand on one side, enable the roboport to let each bot place whatever it randomly chooses while walking to the other side. This effectively doubles the energy-free bot range in the direction you're moving, at the trade-off of having each and every bot fly closer to the maximum energy-free distance it can fly. This is a little more risky though, because if you move slightly too far, it will cost you. Remember that if a bot spends 4.9% of its battery, it won't recharge a single joule, but if it spends 5.1%, it will recharge the full 5.1% spent, not just the portion above the 5% threshold. Multiply that by 144 construction bots, and that's a lot of energy drained from your armor. This method is more suitable for less squarey, more rectangular formed blueprints, and it's a great choice if you can only afford uncommon bots, which have 2/3 of the free flight distance compared to rare bots. Notice I'm trying to make a point here by showcasing it is possible to build this entire blueprint without spending a single joule of energy. Normally I would have had my exoskeletons enabled to speed up the walking and be a little less of a control freak over the few bots that want to fly out too far for the free energy recharge. All of which would make this entire process a lot faster at the cost of a little energy from your armor. Still way less energy than just letting the bots rip though. For contrast, during the opening shot, my bots couldn't even finish the build without draining the entire 305 megajoule internal battery storage of the personal roboports. Moving on to the limited access technique, where you store your entire inventory in chests except the portion that you want to build in the current wave. This can make for a visually pleasing and more real-life logical build sequence for that RPG feel, and is a decent method if you're not hellbent on saving every last joule of energy. But the fastest method, which would have been my solid favorite if not for one annoying detail, has got to be what I've come to call Ctrl-Z building. Here we just stamp down a large blueprint with the roboport off, then carefully snip off bite-sized portions one by one with the deconstruction planner. When the entire blueprint is gone, stamped in the right spot, enable your roboport and press Ctrl-Z to build each individual section. With all of the entities in comfortable close range, making each bot flight way more efficient, even enabling bots to complete more than one task on a single free recharge. If you snip it just right, you won't even need to micromanage the bots. Now, with this method clearly being superior in speed and efficiency, why is this not the only method I ever use? It seems to invalidate all the other methods. Well, it has a tendency to severely mess up your painstakingly hand-wired and neatly organized power line grid. And this is something which simply does not happen with the sweep building variants, as you're no longer messing with the blueprint itself. Now, should this be nerfed? I personally don't think so, as this exploitative behavior is mostly useful in playthroughs where the player is already severely handicapped and progress through technology is made significantly harder, like in large overhaul mods, or indeed playing with a 1000 times science cost multiplier on otherwise completely default settings, while also trying to get the keeping your hands clean achievement. With a more normal Factorio science progression pace, it is probably much harder to get a hold of 150 or so rare construction bots than it is to simply tech your way up to the power armor and personal fission reactor, which mostly solves your personal armor energy problems. But for severe sufferfest settings like 1000 times science cost, it is a small comfort in a world of despair. Anyway, another sufferfest in Factorio is replacing modules and machinery by hand. I've been desperately trying to postpone doing any of that until I unlocked the personal construction bots, but by doing so, we are now about to pollute the nearest enemy bases, which is a deadly mistake, as they are behemoths and we have no weapons. But exploitable free energy or not, with the power of personal construction bots, we now possess the capacity to swap out modules and machinery with meticulous precision, painstaking free. And it's the highest time to do so, as the pollution situation has bulged out into a critical state again. And not only the southern front is at risk now, also over the North Sea, the pollution is literally one chunk away from unionizing the biters into attack groups. Mining drills without efficiency modules, like those running with quality modules, are a serious polluter of the base, and we've got a whopping 4 ore patches running quality modules on our side of the North Sea. Something's gotta give, and we decide to swap out both stone mines to efficiency modules. Which means we are now outputting over 600 pollution a minute less in this area. We keep the iron and copper miners outfitted with quality though, as it is not our intention to minimize pollution. On the contrary, we want to maximize pollution up to the point where we can extract the most quantity and quality possible from the base, while ever so slightly not polluting any biters. But at this moment, the safety margin has decreased to... there is no more safety margin, so we are taking action. A little too late, perhaps. The center of the base is producing the most pollution by far though, with the nighttime boilers running on coal producing about 1700 pollution a minute on average, the 246 productivity modules blue science assemblers being responsible for almost 1500 pollution a minute, and the whole quality module engine assembly system putting out another 750 pollution a minute. The blue science ingredient reduction is sacred, and we don't have time to start the slow accumulator production process, so we go for another quick hit of another minus 600 pollution a minute by sacrificing our quality engines, together with the gears and pipes. Their purpose is done. Their purpose is done. We have plenty to make rare construction bots and chests full of uncommon engines for future uncommon logistics bots. We also still have about 700 assemblers outfitted with common efficiency modules. At 1.2 pollution per minute per machine, that's already pretty efficient, but we have slowly started the process to convert all of our efficiency modules to module slot machinery over to uncommon efficiency modules, halving their pollution output yet again, as well as their energy cost, which in turn means less coal pollution from the nighttime boilers. Well, that concludes the easy mode savings of just swapping out modules. It is time to take on the biggest remaining polluter in the base, the steel furnaces powering red and green science. we purposefully not try to keep science production going while rebuilding, as we are now quite desperately trying to keep the slow momentum of the dense pollution cloud from spreading outwards onto the biters. And temporarily interrupting any science pack production will basically temporarily shut down the entire factory. The 7 lines for green signs are done first, and we necessarily shrink the design down from 48 to 24 furnaces per belt, apparently giving up on ever having red belts of ore flowing in here. Then our main man here apparently forgets about the 3 lines for red signs and heads out straight to the 11 bells of smelting for red chips. Changing out the coal-powered smelting for goat-moduled electric smelting will reduce smelting pollution from the number 1 spot down to negligible levels. A mere 5% of the pollution output once produced, saving another over 900 pollution a minute overall. And just look at the before and after shots. That is a world of difference. Finally, we head home to the last remaining steel furnaces operating in the base, the red sign smelters. Hey, what are you doing? Those are the wrong furnaces, mate. Oh god, this guy and his nostalgia. Well, at least these stone furnaces produce the same amount of pollution overall per belt smelted. Well, except they do so eating twice the coal. At least he upgraded the quality smelting area to electric furnaces as well, giving uncommon ore a second chance to become a rare plate and giving the already rare ore a nice productivity bonus. The only steel smelteries remaining are relics of the past now. The old temporary literal steel smelters, the stone brick smelters to make the stronger walls for biter homes, and the red ammo/Johnny's solar shop smelters. Those might actually still occasionally get used, but in 1000 times science cost, if it isn't producing stuff for science directly, it basically does not exist, significantly speaking. And after putting 2 new Guerrilla copper mines out there in the far lands, each producing half a belt of copper, we are now feeding the complete red science pack production with Guerrilla ore from our infinite ore patches outside of our controlled territory. Nice. To celebrate, we indulge in upgrading the quality modules in both red chip and steel production to quality modules. The rich are starting to get richer, and our power is quasi-statically starting to spiral out of control. You know, geologically speaking. Speaking about geologic timescales, with pollution on an acceptable level again and science running smoothly at least for a while, we spend an ungodly amount of time doing neglected base management tasks, like walking around the entire map to reclaim run-out rare mining drills, as those things are just too valuable to leave out there. We even spent an entire stream just greening up more decoy biter expansion chunks to limit the chance of failure and the rate of actual biter expansions happening outside the base. Not entirely unimportant, given that we are starting to think we might actually have a chance to make it off of this planet, and if so, we are going to spend several dozens of hours at a time on other planets, so Norvi's better be able to take care of itself during that time. During the downtime between the otherwise incredibly exciting action scenes this playthrough has to offer, we research lots of technologies. We already completed the entire construction bot line. We then sneakily snuck in the exoskeleton deviation after researching the required blue chip technology, and now we're going for the triple tool belt technology, also known as logistics bots, followed by the other necessary technologies like bot speed 2, okay, a bit of personal convenience I guess, and power armor. Is that required for like a spacesuit or something? And mining productivity too, what? And laser? That doesn't make any sense at all. None of those vortex are required on the way to get off of this planet. What happened to the I have barely got enough resources to leave this planet, and I cannot afford to make any deviation, and of course not to forget, mining productivity too costs more than it saves. What the heck is going on? Has reaching construction bots instilled some misplaced newfound overconfidence, making playing Mike go mad with power? Or has he simply just lost his mind completely? I hope we find out next time.